Hey y'all. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the heart triad, which is types 2, 3, and 4. And um, this is called the heart triad because these are our emotion centered points. The core emotion of this triad is shame. It's also called sadness because sometimes that shame piece can be kind of hard to identify in the body because of where it actually happens in the brain. Um, the core emotion of this triad is shame. So, we're going to be talking a little bit about how the patterns relate to and form on top of the shame fixation or sadness. This triad, something else to note about this triad is that it's also called the image triad. And that is because there's something about attracting relationships or attracting people in their image. These types are particularly concerned with how things look on the outside. And that's not to say like all parts can be concerned about that, but these parts in particular and the way that they look might be kind of one of the primary things that you notice about them. So there's definitely like an attachment to image with types 2, 3, and 4. I'll start with type 2. Type 2 is called the helper or the giver. And the essence of type 2, the abundant quality that nobody can take away, is contained compassion. So if you can imagine a figure that's like very giving, very loving, but imagine that compassion being somewhat contained so that it respects boundaries, right? So, what we notice in the body type of 2 or in the embodiment of type 2 is that they tend to be kind of perky and cute, sometimes bubbly. They tend to be in smaller bodies, not taking up a lot of physical space, which is kind of a reflection of them not taking up a lot of uh, relational space either because of the giving. Yeah. In childhood, type 2s tend to have a special relationship with one parent. A lot of times it's the opposite sex parent, and they get kind of a lot of 2s will report that in childhood they get pulled into a kind of triangulation dynamic, but they feel in between mommy and daddy or between two caregivers where they feel like they're kind of torn and they need to um, choose sides, but they feel over empathy for the other one. So it can create some kind of um, complicated dynamics. Type 2s are also often described in childhood that they're very sensitive to the needs of their caregivers. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm helping mommy in the kitchen. It means that I'm picking up that maybe mommy needs emotional support. Maybe mommy needs a friend. Maybe mommy needs a shopping partner, right? It's not all about helping, it's about picking up on the needs of the caregiver and then working really hard to fulfill those needs. So, some strengths and challenges of this type. Type 2s are very loving, they're very kind, they're very generous, they're great friends. They love to integrate groups of people. They can be very intuitive in the way that they give, but they can also be strategic in the way that they give. For example, they may want something from someone, so they may offer them something, or they're very aware of the reciprocal nature of giving. And type 2s can, because they give in their perception so much, they can get burnout and start to feel resentful of the other party in the relationship. And then sometimes they can have big anger explosions and feel a lot of shame afterwards. When they've overgiven, when they're resentful, when they're kind of done, that's when the resentment comes in. Um, Growth for 2s gateway is all about taking care of themselves, about pulling that giving energy back and giving to themselves, about kind of learning that other people love and care about them, even if they don't show that love and care in the exact way that the two might show that love and care. Some famous twos are Brittany Murphy, Britney Spears, Dolly Parton, and Desmond Tutu. So you can kind of see that embodiment. Type twos tend to have like big, intense eyes. They tend to kind of go into your soul a little bit. Some people can feel kind of like my emotional space is being invaded when they interact with twos because they are just like so dialed in. Okay. Let's talk about type 3. Oh, and type 2 is the externalizing point of shame and sadness. So they're taking that shame or that sadness that they feel inside and kind of putting it out. And that's part of that giving behavior. That's part of that over attuning to other people. Type 3 is called the achiever, also called the chameleon. And the essence of type 3 is awe and appreciation. Right? Isn't that nice? Type 3 is the adapting shame point. So they are aware of shame or not, but they're kind of trying to numb it out and not feel it and not deal with it. Okay. And the embodiment of type 3 is very chest forward. And if you ever watch a type 3 walk, it's very purposeful. Usually, this area is kind of the first that you'll notice, and that's about because shame and sadness often live in the heart space. That's about kind of pushing it outwards, trying to get it out of the body in a way. Excuse me. So, in childhood, threes tend to develop an extra special intuition for what is expected of them. And they tend to report feeling very loved based on what they can achieve or what they accomplish. One second. And so they learn pretty young that, oh, if I make straight A's, that feels really good. I really like getting rewarded for that. But they can tend to, so they're seeking that awe and that appreciation from others instead of tapping into their own sense of what would make them feel appreciated or accomplished. So they can tend to overwork and burn out and struggle either being in like hyper work mode or doing nothing at all. And threes tend to get really interested in things. And when they're interested in things, they can crank out work really well. Some strengths and challenges of threes. They are lots of fun. They love to play games and win. Oftentimes, they have these like bright, cheery, very attractive personalities. Everybody kind of wants to be around them. They love to win at things. They can be very competitive. And it can appear on the outside that they look magically good at everything. They're kind of those people that like, they're the star of the school play and the captain of the football team, and they speak three languages, and they're accomplished piano player. I mean, they're just those people that looks like things come naturally to them, but they actually just have a capacity to work very hard at things. Some challenges for threes is that because appearance is important to them, sometimes they can miss out on the substance of things and kind of cut corners and make something look a certain way, but the substance behind it hasn't necessarily been fully developed. And they can, when they get really task oriented about something or really focus on something, they can kind of cut off themselves relationally and not really, like, people might describe them as cold. If a three is really busy, you might feel that they are cold. So, gateway and growth for three is about slowing everything down, about being still, about identifying for themselves what is valuable for them, what they like to do, instead of what they're expected to do. Some famous threes that embody the three pattern are Taylor Swift, Tom Cruise, and Beyonce. So you can kind of see that like attractive, fun, magnanimous kind of personality. Okay. Our last type in this triad is type 4. They are the internalizing shame point. They are called the artist or the tragic romantic. And the essence of type 4 is radiant love. Radiant love, right? So with type 2, we had contained compassion, and now we have radiant love. And you can see this in the opposite of the fixations, right? Type 2's externalizing, their energy is very out, very forward. Type 4's energy is very inside. So you might even hear as I'm talking in type 4, you might notice that my speech is slowing. It has a deeper resonance. It has a more. Type 4s tend to be very sensuality forward. Now, I don't mean sexuality forward, although sometimes that happens. I mean sensuality, right? So we've got a deeper, more resonant voice quality. A lot of times with 4s, you'll notice that it kind of looks like they might cry at any moment. They have like a sadness in their eyes. Their eyes tend to look very wet. A lot of the 4s in my life, their eyeliner will run because their eyes are just kind of watery a lot of the time. In childhood, type 4s will describe that they felt like they had to earn love in their family by being special and unique. It's very important for type 4s that they feel like they're not like everybody else, that they're different, that they're not ordinary, and they care a lot about being special and being different. And they can struggle with the kind of mundane nature of childhood, going to school and the routine, and they also, as children, really tend to doubt and underestimate their abilities. So the way that the structure of the pattern develops is that type 4s have that radiant love inside of them, and they're naturally very special, attractive, amazing people. But because they don't feel that enough, or they struggle to be connected to that, what that ends up doing is they end up looking outside of themselves and comparing themselves to everyone else. And there's this narrative of other people get it and I don't. Other people can do it and I can't. Other people get this like connection thing, but I don't really get it because I'm really different. And they feel very misunderstood and disconnected. It's this situation where they want to be seen as being special and unique, but they also, in order to be special and unique, have to kind of hold on to this angst of disconnection. So it's a catch-22, right? Oftentimes 4s will report that they feel excluded or left out, or like no one would notice if they went away. Yeah, it's it's I know it sounds hard to be a 4, but there's a lot of great things about them too. 4s oftentimes do have an extremely unique and great aesthetic sensibility. They can put together a look, or space out a room. Like they just have a really intuitive way of making things beautiful. Everything around them is often beautiful. And they can hold extremely deep empathy, and their presence often really encourages other people to go deeper and look at things that maybe they wouldn't necessarily look at. And so some blind spots for 4s, sometimes they can really struggle to take responsibility in situations and kind of live in this narrative of like, well, you don't get it, so how can you define my role kind of thing. And they struggle in the victim position, right? Because it's like, well, I want to be unique and different, but kind of in order to do that, I have to hold on to this angst. So gateway and growth for 4 is about leaning into joy. It's about looking for opportunities for me too and relating. It's about looking for the ways in which they are the same, practicing self-compassion, and being like leaning into creativity is really good for 4s. Some famous 4s that you might be familiar with. Kurt Cobain is a really famous one. Frida Kahlo, the painter, and the artist formerly known as Prince. um, so, and we can kind of hear that in a lot of, if you listen to Nirvana or Prince's music, right? Like When the Doves Cry is like such a four song. Okay, guys, that's the heart triad. Looking forward to getting to the head, and that's all for today. Take care.